Welcome into the Verizon post-game show. Mark Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derek Gunn, Bailey Livesey will be along with us shortly. And just like that, the 2025-2026 Philadelphia Eagles season is over, and a lot of the same issues that we talked about all season long, despite the fact the Eagles winning football games most of the time, the problems that we talked about throughout the year caught up to them when it mattered most. Bad routes, bad play calling, horrible performances there by some wide receivers, not being able to come up with the football late. Jalen Hurts throwing into triple coverage. And what haunted you throughout the regular season haunted you in your one-and-done postseason appearance. Seth Joyner, Eagles take the 23-19 loss to the San Francisco 49ers, get upset despite 5.5-point favorites at home. What's the first thing that jumps to mind about this loss?
Not surprising. Not surprising in the least little bit, because this offense is anemic. You know, it's funny because, you know, you watch football games and you listen to the announcers, you listen to the analysts, and you hear stuff when you hear people talk about Ben Johnson and Kyle Shanahan and offensive coordinators like that. You hear stuff like, man, what a great play design. When was the last time you ever heard one of the announcers ever say that that was a great play design by Kevin Patullo? Everything is basic. Everything is basic. So this doesn't surprise me in the least little bit, because they came out with a great plan in the first half, and then it seems like they were just calling plays off their cuff in the second half. And the San Francisco 49ers felt that they were close enough to make it a game, and they kept playing and kept playing and kept playing. And the Eagles, like they always do, they played a good half of football in the first half, and in the second half they punted 1, 2, 3 times, and they turned the ball over on downs to end the game with two other field goals. So I don't know. I mean, I just – it looks basic. You know, they run the ball every first down. They get a cloud of dust, and they come back on second down. They throw a 3-yard route, a 2-yard route on second down. There's no aggressiveness to this offense, you know, and everything across the board is so basic and simple that for a group of backups, you know, to come in and treat this offense the way that they treat it today is condemning. It's damning. It's damning on Nick Sirianni. It's even more damning on Kevin Patullo as the play caller. And it's damning on this organization that you have the type of money that you're paying players on the offensive side of the ball, and you can only come up with, 17, 19 points? Like, that makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. And listen, there's enough blame for everybody. You know, wide receivers dropping balls, not catching balls, not giving maximum effort. You know, players on the defensive side standing around not necessarily ready. You know, when I coach young kids, I tell them to be ready so you don't have to get ready. You know, you got guys that are just standing around and not ready to make plays, you know, and you got to give Kyle Shanahan a lot of credit. He got the matchups where he wanted them. He came up with the trick play, lull Reed Blankenship to sleep, 29-yard touchdown. You get Christian McCaffrey locked up one-on-one on Nakobe Dean. You know that that's a mismatch. And the Eagles had no answer for it. So, you know, they got out-coached, they got outplayed, you know, and they got out-willed today. And I'm not going to allow my emotions to boil over by this, because I'm frankly not shocked. You know, people always say, they've been saying all season long, oh, but they win. Don't make a big deal about it. They won. But what did I tell y'all? I told y'all, and I've been telling y'all all season long, that the way that they play all season long is a prelude to what the next game is going to look like, okay? And they got away with a lot of wins this year. But now it bit them in the ass today, because you got a team that just would not lay down, a team that just would not quit. They didn't do anything with 2 turnovers in plus territory. You know, you can't play offensive football like this and think that you're going to compete for a Super Bowl, D-Gun. It's just not going to happen.
I asked you guys in the pregame show, and we kind of chuckled about it. And I said, what's your confidence level of this team scoring 21 points? Remember that?
Yeah.
And we didn't know how to answer that because of what we've seen from this team this entire season. And today's game was the epitome of what we saw at least 95% of this season from this offense. You have Pro Bowl players across the board. You have arguably the best roster in the National Football League when you look at it on paper. And they play nowhere near like a defending Super Bowl champion for much of the season. Granted, it was a difficult schedule, but every Super Bowl champion has to go through that. Seth, you talked about how you were salivating to see the matchup between Kyle Shanahan and Vic Fangio. And I said the opening act will be Robert Saleh against Patullo and Sirianni. Robert Saleh earned his money today. What he did today with guys, they were pulling out of stands to suit up to play for that defense. This defense was decimated. Seattle shredded this defense. What he did today was simply a masterpiece. Now, granted, the Eagles' inept offense aided them in a lot of ways. But what Robert Saleh did in terms of once in a while he would send a blitz. He didn't have to get home, just had to force Jalen to make a decision a little bit sooner than he wanted to, which worked to their favor. They got the necessary stops when they needed them to. And the end result is this Eagles offense had 119 yards of offense against this defense the last 30 minutes of the biggest football game of the year. And we've watched this over and over and over again. And you know what? What's the old saying? You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And they fell on that sword today big time. And this is going to be a bitter pill to swallow because we all talked about how this playoff scenario is the most wide open we've seen it in quite some time. And you look at the first three games that we've watched leading up to this game, back and forth, those three games won in the final minutes of the game. Another come from behind win in this game by an offense, by the way, that racked up 360-something yards of your offense, and you lose your Pro Bowl tight end with what we believe is a ruptured Achilles. So you're handcuffed even more, but they still find a way to get it done.
Well,
it just baffles me.
They find a way, D-Gun, because you can't play the game of football in a conservative manner.
No,
you just can't.
No.
It's an aggressive game.
Yes.
In every way that you can possibly imagine it. It's an aggressive game. So you can't turn around and hand the ball off. What did San Francisco do? They decided that if we can't run the football, then we're going to put the ball in our franchise quarterback's hands and let him lead us to victory, okay? So then they got creative with their running back out of the backfield, and they made plays that way. What the Eagles do is they get a lead and they rely on the lead thinking that the defense is going to be able to hold up. But when you go 3 and out as many times as this offense does, you put too much pressure on your defense all day long. At some point in time, there's a point of breaking. There's a point in time where you have to carry your weight as an offense, okay? So Nick Sirianni is so afraid of turning the football over. Brock Purdy threw 2 interceptions today.
Right.
Mike Shanahan did not back off one iota when it came to him allowing his quarterback to continue to throw the ball.
That's right.
Why? Because he knew that that's what he had to do in order to win. Nick Sirianni didn't take the gloves off of Jalen Hurts until it was too damn late, until the San Francisco 49ers already had the lead. Now it's like, okay, we got 3 minutes left in the game. I'm going to let my quarterback go ahead and cook. Where there was periods of the game where you couldn't run the ball, but you insisted on running it on every damn first down and getting 1 yard. 1 yard. Now you're behind the sticks all the time. All you need now is all of a sudden is a penalty. Now you get a holding penalty or a false start. Now you're really behind the sticks. And then you get 2nd and 15. And you mean to tell me you're going to run the ball on 2nd and 15? You got to get half of it back. You cannot play the game of football as passively as they do, worrying about turnovers, okay? The turnovers will take care of themselves. Brock Purdy had 2 turnovers today, and they won the game.
That's right.
That's not the way it's supposed to be. But when you play like chicken, you know what? That's what you wind up getting. And Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo has called games like this all year long. They got a portion of the game where they look really good. And then all of a sudden it seems like they fall asleep. Now, you tell me, I said at the beginning of the 4th quarter, I said, D-Gun, they need to go back, and whatever those first 15 plays they were, run them again in order, okay? Run them again. But you keep running nonsense that they're actually waiting for. It's like 3rd and 5, and you're running all stop routes. Like this offensive coordinator doesn't scheme people open. They just run their offense and hope that they can beat whoever's on the other side of the ball. But you looked at Chicago. Chicago overloaded the defense last night. They were like, okay, we can't run the football, but we've adjusted, and this is what we can do. We're going to send one guy deep. We're going to send one guy to the flat, and we're going to put our tight end on a sail route. And they wore Green Bay's ass out with that play. Time and time and time and time again. Green Bay had no adjustment. So the Eagles are in the same boat. You run the same plays over and over when the defense has showed you that we have a remedy for what you're trying to do, but you have no adjustment. You can't adjust to what they're doing. And you're so locked into your mentality about how you think that offense should be run that you don't even have enough self-awareness about yourself as a play caller to go back to the things that worked before.
Yeah.
You're just calling plays off the top of your head, and you think that they're going to work? This is like ridiculous. Ridiculous that they lose this game today to this team full of backups, and you lose one of the premier tight ends in the game, and you have no answer. No answer whatsoever.
You talk about running the ball in second and long situations, not just running the ball, but running the ball in the middle of the field again. If there was one area that the Niners were not going to allow you to run amok was in the middle of the field. But why are you running the ball in those situations in the first place?
Because they are afraid to turn the ball over. I've been saying it. I don't know how much is true and how much is not true, but what I do know is that if you have a franchise quarterback that you're paying money to, he's got to be, if you look at all the games this weekend, what's the one common denominator? They allow their franchise quarterback to play the game.
The ball.
I mean, just let him play.
Let him play.
Okay? That's what you're paying him for. You're not paying him to turn the ball, to turn around and hand the ball off, 50 times to a running back. You're not doing that. You haven't been dominant in the run game all season long. And early in the game, when they had control of the game, they were getting no pass rush. It wasn't until the pressure started to get to the Eagles, because now the 49ers offense began to make some plays, that now Robert Saleh said, okay, now we're going to apply the pressure to Jalen and make him make plays. We've taken away the run, and now we forced him to play, and now we're going to come with pressure. But when you had the game in hand, because you didn't go for the jugular, because you didn't step on their neck and kill them right there, and they've done this all season long, you go up by 21 against the Cowboys, and then you get conservative. They come back and win the game, okay? You got the Buffalo Bills dead in the water in their own stadium, okay? And it winds up being a nail-biter where Josh Allen throws an inaccurate pass at the end of the game and you win. But you're chirping as the head coach like you just destroyed them going up the tunnel.
Absolutely.
Okay? Why don't you try to figure out how to be more dynamic? And I'm telling you right now, if some massive changes don't happen on this team, from a coaching perspective on the offensive side of the ball, this is what this team is going to look like, because the defense is going to be better next year. They're going to be better, okay? The question is, with two $30+ million wide receivers, a $20 million running back, okay, and a $50 million quarterback, and an offensive line that's stacked with big contracts, with the exception of the right guard, you've built this unit to be the focal point of the team. And to go out and only put up 19 yards to average 22 points a game over the course of a whole season, that falls on Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo. And ultimately, it falls on Howie Roseman to allow Nick Sirianni to hire him to be the head coach, to be the offensive coordinator, I should say.
As expected, you see a lot of chats across social media, fire Kevin Patullo. But I don't think we talk enough about lack of execution, lack of mental focus. 49ers had one penalty the entire game. One penalty. Eagles had seven. This has been a big problem with this team all season long also. Multitude of penalties, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Then they set a team record this year at one point with 14, 15 penalties in a game. Okay, this has been a major problem also for this team. Now, we can talk about execution again in this game. AJ drops the ball over the middle, should have caught. Saquon drops one in the flats, wide open. Okay? This has been a problem all season long. Jalen runs and picks up a big first down. Bring it back, holding penalty. The mental mistakes this veteran unit, this veteran high-paid unit has made all season long. You would think at some point it would get better, but it kept repeating itself over and over and over again.
You want to know why? You want to know why?
Number one, coaching. Number two, lack of individual focus. Plain and simple.
But you know what?
Plain and simple.
I know the game of football. I played for coaches who are sticklers for the details. I played for coaches that when you don't get the job done, they will cut your ass and bring somebody else in, okay? They will sit you down, okay? I can remember being in Denver, and I said to Shannon Sharp one day, I was like, man, you know, Mike Shanahan, he don't ever yell. He looked at me and said, bro, listen, we have a standard, and everybody's required to play to the standard. They're not going to yell at you. They're not going to cattle prod you to do your job. What they're going to do is they're going to get your ass up out of here if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Now, let's go back to the focal point. The focal point is, as great of a coach as everybody believes that Nick Sirianni to be, and his record reflects it. Let me preface what I'm about to say with that, okay? When you don't have an authoritative figure as a head coach, these are the small things that happen because the accountability isn't there. The nonsense that we've seen with A.J. Brown early in the year, that's not happening on Andy Reid's watch. That's not happening on Sean Payton's watch. That's not happening on Dan Campbell's watch. That's not happening on Kyle Shanahan's watch, okay? So when you breathe this environment, you know, of passivity where you make a mistake and it's okay, or it's not dealt with the way it's supposed to be dealt with in an accountable type of way, it perpetuates itself and it keeps happening. Like when they were missing blocks early in the year, that's not acceptable, okay? Everybody has a job to do. You're being paid to do a job. And when you're not getting the job done, you have to be called out. But guess what? The media will say it and everybody else will say it, oh, the coach can't throw the players under the bus. He's not throwing them under the bus. What's the truth? Is it the truth that you're playing like crap as an offensive line? Is it truth that you're not giving maximum effort? Because we sat here and debated the two balls that A.J. Brown, you know, didn't get to, and we debated why Nick Sirianni was going off on him on the sideline. Because he got to dive. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're playing in the playoffs. It's win or go home. Click them damn green slippers and take y'all's ass home because it's over, okay? Because at the end of the day, he's got to lay out for those balls. If you give maximum effort, you're getting maximum money.
Results.
Give maximum effort.
That's right.
That's all you're asking as a head coach. So when I hear Michael Strahan at the half talk about he doesn't understand why Nick Sirianni is going to his players like that, because you want to know something? Nick's been looking at this crap all year long. And Nick, it just finally clicked. Like, lay out for the ball. Even if you don't catch it, the effort shows me that you're trying with every ounce of your being, with every cell in your body to make the play. But to just put your hands out and then clap your hands and get up and, well, I missed it. No, that's not the way the game is played, you know. But this stuff perpetuates itself because they don't have a strong presence as a head coach, in my opinion. Nick Sirianni is successful. 2 Super Bowls, 5 playoff appearances, a Super Bowl win. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not debating that. What I'm debating is sometimes you got to get in people's face and you got to hold them accountable. And I'm telling you right now, if you're a great player, you want to be coached hard. You want to be held accountable, okay? Because players, I know because I was one and I've been around one, they will do the minimal amount that you as a coaching staff allow them to do. That's just human nature for anybody, okay? It's human nature. Because guess what? They're going to go to the window tomorrow and they're going to pick up that last game check.
That's right.
And they're going to go off into the sunset, into the offseason. They're going to go on trips and they're going to buy crap and they're going to do everything that they want to do. But did you give everything that you could give to earn that money? That's what upsets me. Because I didn't see the kind of effort from this football team on both sides of the ball today. I didn't see the kind of effort that I saw when they was chasing the Super Bowl last year. They just went out there and expected for the San Francisco 49ers to come out, oh, woe is me. Nick Bosa's hurt. Fred Warner's hurt. Ricky Parasol's not there. Our right tackle is beat up and banged up. They expected for them to come in here and just lay down and give them that game, okay? And they won the game, took the game, and sent their ass home. It's sad.
Let me ask this question before we go any further, because I know it's the common one. Kevin Patullo just coached his last game as the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He should have.
Should have. Okay, so we're all on the same page there.
When you look at how many coaching jobs are open, that means staffs will be depleted from those places. There's a whole wealth of offensive-minded talent coaching that's waiting for a phone call. One of the premier destinations is to come to Philadelphia, a team that wins year in and year out, and gives you a chance. There's some great offensive mind. Todd Monken in Baltimore, to name one. Why wouldn't you? If I'm Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, and the brain trust behind the doors, I've got to look at some of these people, man. You've been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. You have a stacked offensive roster. What more would an offensive coordinator want? What more could you ask for?
Listen, it has to be, an authoritative figure.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to hear this crap, all this stuff that floats around about what Jalen wants to run and what Jalen doesn't run, what Jalen's comfortable with and what he's not. Listen, you work for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm not saying that it's true, okay? But where there's smoke, there's fire. And when you continue to hear these things, okay, you have to take it with a grain of salt and ask yourself, is there some validity to it? I don't want to get under center. I don't want to run. I don't give a damn what you want to do. I don't give a damn what you want to do.
Run the offense.
This is our offense, and this is what we're going to run. And there's times where you're going to have to run stuff that you're not comfortable with because it helps us win. Now, you can tell me what you like to run when we put the game plan together, okay? But this is what your ass is going to run when we need to run it, whether you like it or not. You're going to run that read option, and you're going to run the football. You're going to throw the ball across the middle when we need to throw it across the middle, and you're going to line your ass up under center when it requires for you to line up under center, whether you like it or not.
And if you
because
can't,
that's what we're planning you to do. And if you can't, then we got to get your ass up out of here.
You ain't got to leave, but you got to get up out of here. Plain and simple.
One of the lone bright spots for the Philadelphia Eagles today was the play of Quentin Mitchell. He is our player to bank on with the 2 interceptions he was able to get for the Philadelphia Eagles today. But unfortunately, the Eagles would turn that around into
0.
2, 3 and outs. That's the way they would work that after Quentin Mitchell's interceptions. And, I mean, it was the case in 2017, 2018. Eagles would come up with great defensive plays to help turn the tide of many games, including the blowout of the Vikings that year. Then you also talk about the way they played in 2023. They're able to, or excuse me, 2022. They're able to get great defensive plays to help solidify those victories. And then last year, the same thing, especially with the play of Cooper DeJean. This year, you had banked on great defensive plays throughout the season to help solidify victories. Not the offense carrying it, anything like that. It was all about the defense coming up with the big plays. You got 2 interceptions off Brock Purdy. Going into this game, the San Francisco 49ers were well, for the season, they were a -6 in the turnover battle. The Eagles, a +6 in the turnover battle, and your offense couldn't cash in those interceptions for anything today, Seth.
It makes no sense. Because how can you be so explosive, okay? You go 10 plays, 63 yards, touchdown right out of the gate. Then you go 7 plays, 20 yards, okay? And then you turn it over on downs being aggressive, but I didn't like the play call. Why are you passing the ball in that situation? At least one of those plays it's just like they did last week with Tanner McKee. You're down on the 6-yard line, you got 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1, and you choose to throw the ball 2 times in a row. But there's no creativity to what you're doing. You're just going to ask your quarterback to drop back and ask everybody else, Mark, to run hitches at 2 yards while they're matching across the board in zone. And then you wonder why you can't get the ball, completed. Because you've been doing that dumb stuff all season long. And you think teams don't know that this is what you're going to do in a pressure situation? Predictable. I got 5 receivers out, okay, and everybody's running a 5-yard stop route. Against man coverage. Against man coverage, take off across the field. Whatever happened to, you get Dallas Goedert, he runs up to 4 yards and stop, and the guy's sitting on the outside of him. Run across the field, run away from him. I just, it's the offense. This offense is not designed for success. I don't care what anybody says, okay? They're not designed for success. The way that they're built, the way that it's called, and the way it's designed, it is not built for the success that this team needs in order for this organization, this team, to do the things that it wants to do. We talked about at the beginning of the year, this team is in a Super Bowl window because of their salary cap. The next 2 to 3 years is when they got to make hay. You just messed up a great opportunity to get back there, or at least continue to move in that direction this year. So now you just burned 1 year. So now Howie's got to retool. You got all these guys who contracts up. You got to figure out who you're going to keep, who you're going to let go, what it's going to look like all over again. And the most damning thing is that you don't know what the hell you're going to look like on the offensive side of the ball, because Kevin Patullo ain't the answer. Nick Sirianni's offense ain't the answer. And then we come back to it, if you bring in another offensive coordinator and he's running his offense, what does Nick do? I know it sounds absurd, but what does Nick do? The reason why this move was made for Kevin Patullo is because the Eagles are coming off of fresh off a Super Bowl, okay? And you gave Nick the guy that he wanted. But we already know that Nick's offense ain't no good. We figured that out in year 1. Shane Steichen had to take over. Then year 2, they go to the Super Bowl with Shane Steichen completely in control. Then you bring Brian Johnson on. And Brian Johnson is the scapegoat because we're running Nick Sirianni's offense. And I promise you that Brian Johnson wasn't the one making the calls. Nick Sirianni was making those calls, okay? Then you bring Kellen Moore in. Kellen wants to run his offense for 4 games. It's not working out. They fall in love with the run, and then Kellen Moore's out of here. Then you bring in Kevin Patullo. It's the same playbook. It's the same plays. They had some good variations today, but they got completely away from them. Where are the other plays off of the plays you had success with in the first half?
This is a time of season when you have to have shock value plays. You look at the other 3 games that we've watched. Those teams back and forth had shock value plays, okay? How many times today did we see Saquon get met at the line of scrimmage or in the backfield again because the 49ers knew what they were going to run? How many times did we see that? Where was the shock value? Where's the play what was the 49ers shock value play? The Jennings to McCaffrey play that decided the outcome of this game. Eagles had no idea it was coming. 49ers basically knew what they were covering when they looked across the line of scrimmage because it's been the same crap all season. They had some nice variations, a couple, but not enough for shock value. You got to have some shock value plays in there. 49ers had 1. They won the game with it. Won the game with it.
They found a way to put the ball in their remaining playmaker's hands.
Found a way.
When we come back, we're going to hear from Bailey Livesey. Also, a little bit later on, we're going to hear from Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts from Lincoln Financial Field in their post-game press conference. In a bad way, of course. We'll be back after this on the Verizon post-game show.
Mistletoe in January? Why can't your parents just move on? The holidays are over.
If Verizon's keeping the holiday spirit, Nick, so are we. We just got a great deal.
Super fast, reliable home internet for just $35 a month.
With no surprise price hikes guaranteed. You'll understand when you're older.
I guarantee this is gross.
Great deals are still here. Switch to Fios Home Internet starting at $35 a month and get a Samsung TV on us with our premium plans.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
White Dog Cafe Haverford is your Sunday football headquarters.
Catch the Birds games while enjoying the best wings on the main line. Feeding a crowd? Our to-go catering platters are loaded with our signature wings, perfect for game day. White Dog Cafe Haverford, the main line's game day destination.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. You've heard what we've had to say about this Eagles 23-19 wild card round exit against San Francisco 49ers. Now we want to hear about what you're saying in the chat and on social media as well. For that, we bring in our social media correspondent, Bailey Livesey, standing by. Bailey, obviously a rough one. What do you have for us?
Well, Mark, this surely wasn't the outcome that we've been hoping for, and fans are disappointed, but they are not surprised. A lot of fans are looking back to last week when the decision was made to rest the starters. Do you think not having those extra reps had any effect on how today played out?
I think more so not playing the Green Bay Packers had a lot more to do with how today played out, but, I mean, that's the way it fell. Actually, I found this interesting. After the last episode of Hard Knocks, gentlemen, they actually caught, it was Tyler Steen, I believe Jordan Davis, walking off the field after that loss to the Commanders. And Jordan Davis says, playoffs, here we come. A little bit of a downbeat. Then you hear Tyler Steen go, we could have been the second seed, right? And the reaction was, well, yeah, we're still in the playoffs. We can handle it from here on out. Well, there wasn't much of handling anything, unfortunately, in this loss to the 49ers. But, Seth, you go back to last week. Would you rather them gotten some reps in as starters rather than win that game, or just take the outcome of today?
You don't need to ask me that question. Mm-hmm. You know what my answer is. Football players play football, But I understand, I know why it was done, and I know where it came from. That decision didn't come from Nick Sirianni. That decision came from up top. And it was obvious what they were trying to do. 40 passes for Tanner McKee. They were trying to showcase him as trade bait for this upcoming offseason, and it blew up in their face because there ain't a team out there that wants Tanner McKee after watching what he put on the field. You threw away an opportunity to win a game that was winnable, that gives you the 2 seed, brings you the Green Bay Packers instead of this team here. I'm not so sure, D-Gun, that even if they played the Packers the way that they played and the way the Packers came out early, that the result wouldn't have been any different. It's just coaching malpractice that cost them this game and lack of execution by the players, from Jalen Hurts right on down to every other player on the field.
This team should accidentally score 25, 26 points a game. By accident. Mm-hmm. By accident. And they struggle to score 19, 20, 17, 13. I just don't understand. I've never seen anything like this. An offense this loaded that has been so discombobulated the entire football season, except for a few games against much inferior opponents like the Raiders or the Giants the second time they played the Giants. I just don't understand why this team wasn't more of a well-oiled machine. Even if it had some rough patches early on and even in the middle of the season. This is a veteran team. By the time you hit late November, December, especially the upper echelon teams, you should be a machine running. And I don't understand why the spark plug on this team never kicked in consistently. Now they've got to sit there and answer questions they don't want to answer, and there's going to be changes. To what degree remains to be seen, but there's definitely going to be changes when it comes to between now and the time that we look at this team next fall.
Real quick, while we were at break, you saw something up there. What happened with A.J. Brown after the game?
A.J. Decided not to talk to the media.
Of course he did.
After the game.
Of course he did.
I wonder why.
Maybe because Big Dom had more catches in the second half than he did?
Ooh.
Oh, snap.
Ooh.
What?
Wow.
What? Shots fired.
I wouldn't even worry. I wouldn't even aware of that. You said it.
All right. Bailey, what else do you have for us?
Wow.
Well, that was a perfect segue into my next question. There's a lot of talk online about A.J. Brown and fans not being happy with his play. What is your stance on him as a player overall on this team?
On this team.
I still think he's a great player, but he did not show that today. And there's been too many instances this year where his complaining off the field did not match the play on the field. And you can't be demanding of everyone else and then give up on deep balls on 2 different occasions during the regular season and then put forth the effort that we saw tonight. Now, one thing I will say, just to put this on record, the first ball in the first half, Seth, you and I went back and forth on it. But I didn't think he would have been able to get to that one. I didn't think he could have even dove for that one. Upon further review, I will say that ball was more next to him than it was behind him than I thought on the first angle. The second one, he's fighting. I'm surprised there wasn't pass interference called, but also that ball is dropping in front. Got to lay out for that one. What did you make of his performance overall? And then, of course, the drop on the final drive where Dallas Goedert ends up being the hero on the next play.
I'm going to take the middle road as far as AJ is concerned, because I believe that the way that they use him primarily is a lot of the reason why he's so non-productive. Because they don't motion him to create opportunities for him. They don't line him up in the slot to create opportunities for him. When you look at the other elite wide receivers around the league, they line up all over the place. They line up at X. They line up in the slot. They wind up at Z. They wind up in the backfield. They wind up all over the place. But that goes back to the creativity of how they use them. But then again, you can't get so disenchanted with how you're being used that you're not giving maximum effort. And we just saw too many times this year where AJ had opportunities to make plays that he didn't make them. I don't think AJ has had as many drops in a single season of his career as many as he had this year. Just balls that are right there in your hands that you 9 times out of 10 catch that you don't catch. And then the lack of effort comes across to me as pouting. Well, I'm not getting targeted. Well, why should I go full speed? Like, there are times where I could look at AJ's stance, the way he's lined up at the line of scrimmage, and I can tell whether it's a pass or whether it's a run, just by his body language. That shouldn't be. If you're the number one wide receiver, you should line up every single time with the intent to give the same amount of effort to block for somebody else if they get the ball or if they run the ball as you're going to give if you know that you're the primary in the route and the play call. So I don't know. I don't know what the remedy is. I don't know what the remedy is. Maybe AJ goes in and asks to be traded. Maybe the Eagles decide that, we have to minimize our cap hit somewhere and move AJ. I don't know. But if you don't come up with a better offense and a better offensive philosophy, if you're going to keep AJ on this team, this situation is not going to get any better, okay? It's not going to get any better if you're not going to figure out how to creatively use his talents and his abilities. If you're not going to do that and you're going to bring Kevin Patullo back next year, then trade him. Trade him and either move Darius Cooper up or go and get another wide receiver, that's willing to do that. But you know what you're going to get with him. He's going to be frustrated because he feels like he's the best player on the field and he wants to dominate at his position. And this offense isn't constructed and it's not built for him to dominate.
I do know this. Everybody in the organization loves AJ as a person. Despite what we see on the exterior when it comes to games and when he speaks to the media at times, I understand. The man himself.
Nick Sirianni's got all the answers, I'm sure, standing by right now.
Felt like that was kind of our story as the year progressed, and good, like you said, good first half. Didn't do a good enough job coaching. Didn't do a good enough job executing in the second half. In that third quarter, particularly, some penalties got us behind the sticks, and we had a hard time overcoming them.
Why do you think that became a trend this year?
I don't know. Obviously, those are things that we always work our ass off to try to fix any situation and every situation that we can. And you know what? At the end of the day, we didn't do a good enough job of doing that. And that starts with me.
Did you feel like you played it more conservative in the second half?
I didn't. I think that's always the go-to. Like if it doesn't go the way you want it to go it goes the way you want it to go in the first half and then not the second half. I think that's the go-to. If people think you take your foot off the gas, but we were playing, we're balanced, got the run game going a little bit, trying to mix our play actions in, trying to get our passes in to create explosives. At the end of the day, we didn't create enough explosives. They did. Give them credit. They made more plays than we did. They coached better than we did, and that's why they won.
Cameras call you and AJ at the end of the.
What happened on the sideline with AJ?
Yeah, I was trying to get him off the field, because we were about to punt, and that was really it. So I love AJ. I think he knows how I feel about him. I have a special relationship with him. We've probably went through every emotion you can possibly have together. We've laughed together. We've cried together. We've yelled at each other. we're both emotional. I was trying to get him off the field, and you never want that happens in this game. That happens in this game, but I love him.
Kevin has taken a lot of heat.
Did you talk to him on the sideline or after the game?
Yeah.
That interaction?
Yeah.
Kevin's taken a lot of heat for some of the offensive struggles. Obviously, it's a difficult time, but your first thoughts on his performance?
Yeah, again, will be time to evaluate everybody's performance. Right now, I feel for all our guys in the locker room, all the players, all the coaches, the front office, everybody that works so hard, the fans that come out and support us, Mr. Laurie, I just feel for all of us, all of them, and there'll be time to evaluate everything at the end, coming up.
On the fourth down, what made you use that time out there, and was it because you were late out of the huddle?
No, it wasn't because of that. We wanted to see what defense we were in. We didn't think that there was going to be a great opportunity to get the ball back with enough time to do anything if we stopped them. We knew that was going to be the last possession, and so we took a picture of what we thought they were going to do to give ourselves some information, and that's why.
How much did the win affect the downfield passing game?
Yeah, I think you saw the ball by both teams. I think you had Purdy on the one and an interception that kind of died on him. I think Jalen had one down the sideline to Jahan that kind of died on him. So, we got to find ways to create explosives a different way. If you can't do it that way, again, just didn't do a good enough job there. Starts with me as coaches, and then we didn't execute well enough.
Uncharacteristic drops from AJ today. Actually, more this season than ever. What has been behind that, or do you think it's just?
Yeah, the win. He's got the best hands I've ever seen. The way he catches the ball, the amount of different types of catches that he's made. When you get as many targets as he does, you're going to have some drops. Not ever using an excuse, but the ball moves differently in the wind. I thought Jalen did a good job of cutting the wind a lot of times. But we had some uncharacteristic drops, and those. I think we were able to. I think the one that he had, we overcame it the very next play with Dallas, but. I know he's gonna. He'll beat himself up on that, and I know AJ. He'll catch 9,000 balls. With the one drop that he had.
Was the lack of explosives maybe the most disappointing thing about the offense this season?
Yeah, you always want to win the turnover battle, which we did tonight, and then you always want to win the explosive play battle, which I'm assuming, I don't have the numbers yet, but I'm assuming we did not. You got to be able to be explosive. It's really hard to dink and dunk down the field. It's really hard to get behind sticks with negative plays. You got to be able to create explosives, and again, at the end of the day, there was a lot of elements that end up with a loss, and we haven't had this feeling of ending our season since 2023 with a loss. So that's why it hurts, because it's been a while. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, we need to find ways to be more explosive. Again, that starts with me.
What happened with Lane? What happened with Lane?
Yeah, he did. Like you guys saw, he did everything he could do to go, and at the end of the day, it just wasn't ready.
Was it deflating at all to have the hope all week and not play?
No, again, we have so much faith in the guys that are in that locker room. For Fred to be able to step in, Fred stepped in and played a lot of winning football for us to help us win football games. But yeah, obviously, you always, Lane's a big part of this team and. Brings so much to this team, and you always miss him when he's on the field. But I don't want to take anything away from Fred. He did a really good job this whole year.
A couple more? Coach, with all the talent that you had this season, was it really disappointing to see? It seemed like you all were inconsistent all year. That there were games that you really could have put 4 quarters together with. Is it frustrating because of all the talent between Barkley and your receivers, your tight end? Is it kind of frustrating to see this offense?
Yeah, anytime you lose, anytime you don't perform the way you want to as coaches and players, you're frustrated. And obviously, when I said to the guys is, adversity shapes you to who you are, and if you allow it to. And so there's a lot to be thankful for, but you got to use this adversity to shape you, and that's for everybody in that locker room. Myself, the coaches, the players. Let the pain shape you to what you want to be, and we'll use this like we used it at the end of 22, 23, because all that was necessary for 24, and we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, last one twice. You're looking to generate explosives. Is that a mentality thing on the quarterback, a creativity thing on the part of the play caller? What do you do to create those?
Create explosives. Yeah, there's many different ways that you can go about that. Sometimes it's a deep ball down the field. Sometimes it's an intermediate throw. Sometimes it's a short throw that turns into a big one. Many different ways. Sometimes it's a run. And so many different ways that can happen. At the end of the day, we didn't do enough of those this year.
49ers scored twice in the fourth quarter there. What happened defensively, and the trick play in particular, what did you see there?
Yeah, hats off to them on the trick play. I thought Kyle did a good job calling that at the perfect time. And shoot, I thought that was just two good players making a really good play. That wasn't an easy throw. That wasn't an easy catch. And, there's a reason those guys are good players there. And so sometimes you got to give hats off to them. And, as bad as it sucks, sometimes it's, those guys are good players. And it was a good call by Kyle.
All right.
Thank you.
Nick Sirianni addressing the media at Lincoln Financial Field. And just to answer it for Nick, he said, at the end, we got to go over it. Well, here we are. We are, in fact, at the end. When we come back, we'll break down what we heard from Nick Sirianni. A little bit later in the show, we're going to hear from Bailey Livesey again, as she's been monitoring the chat. And we'll also hear from Jalen Hurts at Lincoln Financial Field as well. More on the Verizon postgame show after this.
Picture this. You play big-time college football, you get some NIL money. You get drafted in the NFL, and you start making real big money. However, you're 23 years old and you don't have any credit. Here at Mid-Penn Bank, we're helping these athletes establish credit through secured credit cards and other strategies that can help develop their credit now, so as they continue to make money, they can have long-term success financially.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Recovery Unplugged. Welcome back to the Verizon postgame show. Mark Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derek Gunn. We just heard from Nick Sirianni. He talked a lot about how there's explosive plays. They know how to have explosive plays as an offense. But my question is, where were the explosive plays tonight? There's many ways to have explosive plays, apparently, Seth. Eagles, impossible to crack that code tonight.
Can I ask you a question? Where have the explosive plays been all year?
Don't know. And this
is the fallacy in football. It started, in the mid to late 90s, where we moved away from a run-centric offense to a pass-centric offense that said you come out, you throw the ball often and early, you get a lead, and then you run. Then we devalued the running back position in the process of doing that because we started paying these quarterbacks a boatload of money, and we had to justify them throwing the ball 40 times a game and winning that way rather than winning the conventional way with the running back, okay? So now here we go again. They're using that same methodology, that same data analytical bent, to talk about explosive plays. And you hear everybody talk about it. Everybody talks about explosive play. Let me tell you something. If a team know that you got good wide receivers, and if they can control your run game with a 6-man front or with the 7-man front when you add, the slot corner to the mix, then you're not getting explosive plays. The only way that you create explosive plays is that you have to earn it. You got to run the ball. You got to run the ball with some kind of success. Then you got to create the dynamics with personnel packages to force defenses to play the way that you want them to play. See, our offense doesn't force defenses to do anything. There's times today where you saw the San Francisco 49ers when the Eagles really started running the ball great. They went to a conventional 4-3 set. They had 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers in the game. So when can you tell me that we're going to take advantage of that? When are we going to get Dallas Goedert matched up on one of these linebackers? They're the 3rd, 4th, or, backup type players. When are we going to get Saquon Barkley matched up on a guy where we can take advantage of these linebackers, okay? You're not getting explosive plays until you create the environment for it. And for guys on ESPN and Fox and CBS and ABC and everywhere else to talk about explosive plays like it's something that you could just have when you want it is absolute nonsense, because you got to create the environment for it. Okay, you got to dominate the running game, or you got to be moving the ball so systematically in the short game that you're converting 3rd downs to force them out of the defenses that they're in, force them into man situations, force them into zone situations where your quarterback can pre-snap read it, okay? And you've got to play design where you take a safety out of the hole or pull him out of a half and then come with another route behind it that creates it. You're not getting explosive plays just because you want them, Nick. You got to create that. And then one thing your offense is not creative. You don't create anything. You don't give your players any kind of advantage to be creative or to be dominant, because everything you do is predictable. I'm looking at offenses across the league, and you watch guys running scot-free by themselves. You look at guys getting one-on-one situations and winning. Everything that this offense gets is hard. There's nothing easy because they don't know how to scheme people open. They don't know how to put together routes that beat cover 3, cover 2, cover 4, cover 6, man-to-man situations, all-out blitz situation. Anytime they get 0 blitz, guess what they're going to do? Throw the moon ball to A.J. down the left side of the formation. They don't ever throw a crossing route. Just everybody block down, let the guys on the edge come, give your guy time to make a move and win crossing the field. Other teams do it. That's how you create explosive plays. Not just by word saling it to us that this is, we didn't create enough. No, you didn't create enough because your damn offense is too damn vanilla.
Real quick, Jalen Hurts is coming to the podium right now at Lincoln Financial Field. We'll get his take on this Philadelphia Eagles wild card loss. Here he is.
Moving in the first half on offense, weren't able to sustain it for the second half. Do you see any common themes as to why you guys struggled in that second half?
Well, one, I'd like to give my respects to the 49ers, how they came out and played. They made plays when they needed to. The coaches coached well. At the end of the day, we didn't make the plays when we needed to make them. And that's something that we're all looking in internally first.
Jalen, your general thoughts on the offense this season, kind of the up and down nature of it.
Obviously, you want more consistency. And there's a
desire to improve steadily throughout the year, but hard to look at it from a big picture perspective right now. I think just having the opportunity to go make something happen and not doing so for whatever reason, those are the things that we all have to improve from.
Jalen, can you take us through the fourth down from your perspective? And Nick mentioned you took a picture. You guys took a picture and got some information. Did they come out with something different?
No. They played cover 4 structure, and I didn't make the play. I own it. I own it all.
Can you address how things went with Kevin Patullo in your first season together? Did you grow together? Did it get better? Did it ever stagnate?
Yeah.
And do you think it has a future?
I think I'm always growing. I'm always taking in my experiences and learning from everything that we go through. I think it's tough to single out one individual, especially in a moment like this. We all got to improve, and that's how I look at everything that we go through.
Nick talked about how explosive plays today, but kind of the theme of the whole season, there weren't as many as there were a year ago. Do you think that's one of the things this offense needs to get back is the explosiveness that it showed you?
Well, I think finding a rhythm and whatever you define aggression as, maintaining the fluidity and the flow throughout 4 quarters of the game. So I think there's opportunity for us to improve in that. Just finding a rhythm. Ultimately, it's just all something that you either learn from it or you don't.
I want to talk about execution all year, just the lack of execution. Do you think maybe some of that is just the reality of the NFL, that it's hard to come back after winning a Super Bowl and repeating? You don't see it happen that often.
I think it's always hard to duplicate, but it's everything was there in front of us, and so just got to really improve from it. Obviously we all could have executed better, but it takes everyone being honest with themselves on that and challenging themselves to grow from it.
What do you kind of put your finger on as far as, it seemed like the same mistakes keep recurring week after week. I mean, did you think you finally had it, figured out this week, and what kind of happened to not?
No, not necessarily. But the mentality was, we're all we got and we're all we need, and we're here and we're going to go try and make it happen and give our best. And obviously it wasn't enough. But there are a lot of things that we'll be able to look back on and say, okay, this is an area we need to improve on, and this is how we can grow, and we just gotta grow from it all.
In terms of being honest with yourself, was this team honest with themselves, September, October, November, when these questions were coming then?
I think winning is hard. Nothing about it is easy, especially when you're trying to repeat. Everything was clear for us and what we wanted to accomplish this year, and we came up short. And so you have no choice but to learn from it, especially if you have a great passion about it. And that's my approach. That's my approach with it all. I think, when I look at this game, and I know this is a little different, but it kind of answers a question that you asked before. We've got to take advantage of our opportunities when they're there, and we've got to be smart and rhythmic in what we do and how we do it. Ultimately, when I see our defense, get the ball back like that. I mean, we've responded with touchdowns, and those are the times we capitalize, especially on short fields. And I take ownership for not being able to put points on the board. It all starts with me and ends with me. And so there's there's a sense of a lot there that you can learn from. I think as a team, as a collective group, and personally for me as a quarterback, how you see the game, how you feel the game, and Ultimately, just okay, how can I find a way to win, and wasn't able to do that today.
You mentioned repeating is hard. Winning is hard in this league from week to week, but what makes it even harder?
The Eagles' 23-19 loss to the San Francisco 49ers in the wild card round. We'll respond to that when we return right here on the Verizon postgame show.
There's a number on the screen.
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 There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Business owners love the path of least resistance. So when it comes to their banking, that's where we want to help them. Whether they're working on their consumer lending, their wealth, their commercial lending, their insurance, our focus is to help plan holistically to ensure financial success both in the business and the owner's personal lives. So reach out to one of our professionals today.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
Okay, Richardson, give me the tree. The holidays are done.
No way they're done.
They are.
We thought so too, Gary. But then Verizon just gave us their best deal.
4 new iPhone 17s, all on them.
Yep, and 4 lines all for just $25 each.
You got anything under there for me?
It's a holiday miracle.
Our best deals are still here. Come into Verizon and get 4 iPhone 17s on us. No trade-in needed. And 4 lines for just $25 a line.
Love that spirit, folks.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Weber Display and Packaging. Before we go any further, there was one key moment here for the San Francisco 49ers after their trick play that worked brilliantly for Kyle Shanahan and company to find a way to put the ball in their best player, Christian McCaffrey's hands. The 49ers were able to come back after that and put up even more points on the board, again ending up in the hands of Christian McCaffrey. And this was following our drive of the game, and unfortunately, it is for the opponent, the San Francisco 49ers. 10 plays in that fourth quarter, going 66 yards from the 8-minute mark of the fourth to the 2:54 mark of the fourth quarter. It ended with that 4-yard touchdown reception by Christian McCaffrey, giving them the 23-9 edge over the Eagles. And that was a play, Seth, that was capped off by Nakobe Dean, I guess, going to the outside, and Christian McCaffrey simply cutting to the inside, the middle of the end zone for the touchdown.
That was a mismatch all day long. And, you know, they got what they wanted in that situation, and the Eagles had no remedy for it. It's like you just know that in certain situations, like you're damn if you do, you're damn if you don't. If you come in and you go dime and you take Nakobe out of the game, now all of a sudden you got a situation where you have a nickelback in that situation, and he's got to cover. They may run the ball in that situation. Now you got a nickelback that's got to play the run game like a linebacker. If you don't make the change, now all of a sudden you got Nakobe Dean on the most prolific pass-catching running back. You know, when it's all said and done, he'll be the most prolific pass-catching running back in the history of the National Football League. That's a dead mismatch, especially the way that we play. Nakobe's standing in the end zone damn near, and the kid is running a route, and he never moves. And he gives him a little fake outside, and he bites in inside. You know, my grandson's a year and a half. He could have ran that damn route and scored on Nakobe. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, it's stuff like that, you know, where you're unaware of potentially what could happen, you know, in that scenario. You know, I would much rather have seen, you know, Zach Bond on him or Zach Bond on a linebacker and take the slot guy and put him over on Christian one-on-one. We talked about it, you know, in the pregame okay? Maybe we need to play a little more, especially after the Eagles shut down the run. It became very apparent what they were going to do is they were going to try to create the mismatches with Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield catching balls. So maybe once you got the run game shut down, maybe the move for Vic Fangio was to go dime and ensure that you had a defensive back on Christian McCaffrey rather than having a linebacker on him. I don't know. It's just, they schemed what they needed and what they wanted, and we seem not to be able to scheme anything on the offensive side of the ball. I want to talk for a second, before I pass it back to you, about Jalen talked about short fields, okay? Every time that the Eagles get a turnover, they follow it up with a 1-yard run up the middle. They turn and hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley. Most other teams, right after a turnover, that's a shot play, D-Gun.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a shot down the field right now, right here, okay? Let's test the will and the stamina of the opposing defense. But we never, ever do that, So, yes, we're not aggressive. The question was asked to Nick, hey, did you get a little more conservative? No, we didn't get conservative. That offense looked pretty damn conservative to me in the second half. It was almost like you were satisfied with the small lead that you had and you were going to lean on the defense to bring it home for you. This is the NFL. You can't do stuff like that. Your objective as an offense is to score as many points as you can to make it insurmountable for the other team to come back. It's just nonsensical when you really think about what this offense and what they did, today. I don't get it, man.
And most of the shot plays you're talking about will come off of some type of play action, and we don't see that. We're sitting here calling. We call the Eagles' first play of the game, run play to the middle. In most situations, even off the turnovers, we call the play. They're going to run the ball up the middle. Sure enough, Saquon's getting met at the line of scrimmage, or he's getting met behind the line of scrimmage. If we're calling it, and you got guys being paid 7-figure incomes to study tendencies of other teams, and they know what's coming, and we've seen it time and time again because we saw an inferior defensive line get penetration too many times on this Eagles offensive line to stonewall running plays. Now the stats say Eagles ran for 140 yards, but they were not efficient 140 yards. Like Seattle ran for 180 yards on the Niners last week. This 140 yards they got today was not efficient because it was too doggone predictable. Jawan Jennings, 1-for-1 in the pass department of play, had a longer completion than Jalen had of any of his 25 completions in the game today. Jalen's longest completion was 20 yards. With the wealth you have on the outside and in the middle of this field, from the 2 wide receivers to your tight end, you can't stretch the field any better than that, especially in a diverse situation like this. You can't. We've seen Dallas Goedert do it before. We've seen AJ. And I don't like when they throw the ball like earlier in the season when they went for it on their 4th play and threw it down the sideline to AJ and Nick Sirianni standing on the sideline talking about why did you throw it? But you have enough opportunities to stretch a field and get a defense off you to make a defense play more honest. We watched too many games where we got guys stacking the line of scrimmage and daring the Eagles throw the football and they run right into the doggone line of scrimmage. I don't get it.
I'm glad you mentioned the 20-yard reception by Saquon Barkley, because that was the longest reception, and that was on that screen play.
Yes.
And that was one of the plays in the first half where we all looked at each other and went, is somebody else calling plays? You got a screen play here that actually worked. Yeah. You got Jalen looking to his right, then bang, comes back to the left, hits Saquon, they get to 20 yards. You see the jet sweep run by Dallas Goedert. You hadn't seen that all year. You see the commitment to the run earlier in the game there with Saquon Barkley. 45 yards on an opening drive. I think it's a pretty safe guess to say that was his best drive really of the season. I don't think he ever had that drive this season on as many plays as he had. So you're actually looking at the offensive play calling in the early goings of this game being like, damn, look at this. Couple of shots down the field to AJ, which unfortunately didn't bear any fruit. We all know why. We talked about it already. But then in the second half, we were talking about it in the Bills game, and here we are talking about it again. Hey, Nick, did you take your foot off the gas? No, I don't think we took our foot. You're not fooling anybody. It is obvious that you're just trying to protect the football. And here you are in a game where you win the turnover battle, but still, because of play calling, because of drops as well, you find yourself trailing. You find yourself beat up late in a game, and you're not able to overcome that kind of play calling.
It doesn't matter to win the turnover game if you can't take advantage of the turnovers when you get them. To walk away with 0 points off of turnovers and you had the ball at the plus 50 on both occasions and you walk away with not even 2 Jake Elliott field goals that could have been a massive difference in this game, like that's unconscionable that you can't get 10 yards and get in field goal range. That's play calling. I don't care what anybody says. The execution, it may be the execution, but that's play calling. You have to find a way. The great, deep offensive minds in the National Football League, they figure it out. They figure it out. And then Jalen turns around and says, you know, the question was asked to him, and this is very telling. You know, all season long, you know, you guys have struggled. Coming into this game, was there a sense that you had finally figured it out? And Jalen said, no. We never figured it out. So you mean to tell me this is coming out of the mouth of your quarterback? You played 18 games and been anemic on the offensive side of the ball, and you spent 19 weeks training camp and OTAs, and you get to the crunch time, the moment where the rubber meets the road, and you mean to tell me that as a staff you haven't figured it out? Now that's 2 years for me, okay? I'm counting. Because Nick Sirianni stood up in front of the media back in 2023 and said the same exact thing. Hey, Nick, do you have a remedy? What do you think the problem is? He turned to the reporter and said, well, don't you think if I had a remedy that I would have fixed it? I was blown away that he actually said that in a public forum. But what I'm hearing from him and what I'm hearing from his quarterback is here we are 3 years later dealing with the same situation, that the offensive coordinator / head coach is publicly saying that he struggled. This team struggled this year, and he had no answer, no remedy, no fix, no solution in 18 games?
When I watched the Eagles running game today, it kept resonating in my mind what Patullo said after that Buffalo game. That was sometimes we ran the ball just to run the ball.
Right.
That's what it looked like today. Sometimes it was just running the ball to run the ball. No rhyme, no reason. Just run the ball.
No, there's a rhyme and a reason. They run the ball to run the ball because they don't want Jalen to throw the ball, because they're afraid of turnover.
Then why you pay him $250 million?
Well, on that note, Gunner, on that same note you're talking about there, that same drive where you got the 20-yard reception on the screenplay to Saquon Barkley, Tank Bigsby ran for 4 yards, 9 yards, 7 yards.
Jeez.
1 carry after that the rest of the game.
Jeez.
1 carry after that.
And how many catches did A.J. have in this game?
A.J. had 3 catches, I believe. None in the second half.
None in the second half.
So Big Dom had 1 catch in the second half. Quentin Mitchell had 2 catches in the second half. All right. Let's go to Bailey Livesey. She's standing by. I know we got a couple more questions here. We talked to Bailey earlier in the show. We want to bring her back and see what the people are talking about after this early one-and-done playoff exit. Bailey, what else do you have for us?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of comments about the offensive struggles. When you evaluate this game offensively, where exactly did this unit have the hardest time against this 49ers defense?
A lack of adjustment, Bailey. You know? I mean, because how can you be so proficient in the first half? Jalen was 11 for 16, 93 yards and 1 touchdown, 104 rating in the first half. The Eagles ran the ball 20 times for 95 yards. Saquon Barkley had 15 carries for 71 yards. Okay, and Mark, what was the halftime score?
It was 13-6, 13-10, 13-10.
So 13-10, and you had that kind of offensive production in the first half. Okay, 188 total yards, and then in the second half you do nothing. That's adjustment, because you know that when you go in at halftime, the thing that you have success with, that they are making their adjustments at halftime for what you're doing. And what great coordinators do is they're making adjustments in the flow of the game. So when you begin to see what their adjustments were going to be, why didn't we make adjustments? Why didn't we go 6 offensive linemen when we were trying to run the football? Why didn't we go max protection in situations where we knew we had man coverage? Why, when the safeties are lined up too high and normally they've got to line up anywhere between 12 and 15 yards, okay, and you see one lined up at 12 yards and another one creeping down at 8, why is it that doesn't tell you as a staff and as a quarterback that guy's rotating down into the box to stop the run? So they've got one more defender than we can block. And then when you really want to run, you try to cut your splits down and you bring all of the outside defenders, the slot guy, the strong safety on the strong side, both cornerbacks. You bring all of these people to the box and then you're going to try to run the ball. All it takes is for one guy to miss a block. But then at the other end of the spectrum, you got the other safety rolling down. That's the time when you dummy, when you fake the clap or you fake the snap to get to see what they're doing, that's when your quarterback has to check out of the play that you know is not going to work because you don't have enough blockers to block it and go to the pass. See, that's adjustment. This team don't adjust. They run their offense and hope that they're good enough to beat people. And that's what got their ass beat today.
You want to talk about scheming. Demarcus Robinson, 9-year NFL vet, 31 years old, has never had more than 500 receiving yards in a season. You know how many yards he had for this entire season? Now, he looked like a Pro Bowler today. 276 yards receiving in 14 games this year. He had 6 catches for $111 and a touchdown in this game against this defense. That's scheming. And I'm trying to figure out, early on in the game I said jokingly, who's Demarcus Robinson?
Yeah, right.
And he's running all over the field like nobody's covering him.
61 yards out of the gate, Gunner.
That's scheming.
And you want to know something? The 49ers didn't do anything that they don't normally do.
Nope.
They went play action pass, and they get these guys on these deep crosses. And when you're in zone, I talked about in the pregame, when you're in zone, the only way that you stop those routes is the linebackers have to read pass, and they've got to get depth to take that away. Brock Purdy's just dropping balls right over Zach Bond and right over Nakobe Dean's head because the ball is snapped and because of the play action, they're standing there, okay? But the minute that you read that it's passed, you got to turn and get some depth. But if you're standing at 4, 5, 6 yards, that whole area between where the safety is and where the linebackers are wide open, and you got corners that are chasing outside in, that's like playing catch in the backyard, you know? So it's not like they did anything different. They've been running that same stale-ass offense all year long. All year long. The Seattle Seahawks last week said, no, you're not going to run that. We know that this is how you live and what you do. They've been doing it forever. When Brandon Ayuk was playing, they were doing it. When Deebo Samuels was playing, they were doing it. It's the same damn offense. And you mean to tell me you had all this time to prepare and you didn't know that that's a part of their offense is they want to throw the ball in the middle of the field on deep crossing routes as a linebacker? Both our linebackers should have had a couple of interceptions today. Yeah. But when you get locked in, oh, I'm in zone and I'm just going to drop to my area, or I'm in my hook and I'm going to stand there and look at the quarterback with no awareness that wide receiver is running 5 to 10 yards behind you, like, it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's film study and preparation and understanding what teams are trying to do to you. You always play from deep to short. So what? They dump it off. You rally up like every other defense that plays great zone coverage, and you make the tackle. But what we're not going to do is we're not going to let them run this same dumbass route that they've been running all season long and complete it on us like we have no clue what the hell they've been running all season. Today's players are bigger, stronger, and faster, but boy, they dumb as hell.
Bailey, on that note, what else do you have for us?
Looking back at the game, what is a play or a moment that really stands out to you as a missed opportunity or a key mistake that led to this loss?
The two balls that Jalen threw downfield as explosive plays that AJ didn't dive for. You have to dive, I'm sorry, even if you don't catch it. Show me that you're trying to catch it instead of just saying, oh, it's out of my reach. No. I mean, other players are diving. You saw Christian McCaffrey catch a ball over his head and bump his head on the ground trying to catch the ball. There was nothing that was going to stop him from catching that ball. The wind was blowing the same way it was blowing for A.J. Brown. The ball wasn't thrown perfectly. The same way the ball wasn't thrown perfectly to A.J. Brown. But you know what his resolve was? I'm catching this ball come hell or high water, or at least I'm going to give my best effort. You can't tell me that A.J. Brown gave his best effort to catch those two balls early in that game.
I'll give you one. I believe it was both interceptions that Quinyon Mitchell came up with in this game. One in the third quarter, then later in the game in the fourth quarter comes up with another one. Eagles get the ball at the 38-yard line. They need 47 yards. They get 47 yards. That's it. And they're able to get a 33-yard field goal after the interception. Then you also see a little bit later, or excuse me, earlier in the game, you see another interception. They go 10 plays for 23 yards. That is ridiculous after that, the way that played out. Opportunity right there for the take, and the Eagles can't capitalize on it, Derek Gunn.
For me, it's going to be the flanker option for the touchdown. Because they caught the Eagles at the perfect time to pull that play, and that was the defining play in this game. And you know Shanahan is known for coming up with plays of trickery, misdirection plays. Now, you can't defend them all, but you can't give that up. Now, if that was an 80-yard bonus dip, that was a 29-yard touchdown. You got to defend that portion of the field a lot better than you did. They bid on the fake. They caught him. Touchdown. Momentum change.
You know what that play was?
Momentum change.
You know what that play was? That was a desperation play.
Absolutely.
It's a desperation play. They had nothing going.
No.
That was an absolute desperation play. Like, I can remember when I played, and we dominated the team, and they would come with some trick play, and we didn't get beat by it. When we come off the field, the coach would say, hey, we got him now. We got him. We got him. Because their best stuff they tried. They had to try tricks in order to beat us, and the trick didn't work. That's a desperation play, okay? There's no reason in the world why Reed Blankenship, it all comes down to eye discipline as well, okay? You see the guy running out of the backfield. You think he running to the sideline to get some damn Gatorade? He ran right by you. But you're so busy looking in the backfield that you don't even pay attention to a guy that's running right by you, and you know that you're the last line of defense. That's incomprehensible that you get beat on something like that. That means that you're not focused and you're not locked in when you let a guy just run right by you. That just makes no sense to me. None. The guy's coming out of the backfield and he's running up the sideline. Like, who the hell you think is going to run with him? You!
Bailey, do you have one more?
Yes, I
okay.
do.
All right, go ahead. What else do you have?
It's my final question of the season. This is it. How does this game shape the conversation around this team heading into the offseason?
Fire Kevin Patullo. Okay. Now, but before we let you go there, just Bailey, thank you for all your hard work throughout the season. Great job monitoring the chat, all of social media as well, and keeping us up to date on what everyone is talking about after the game. Thank you so much.
Of course, it's been an honor. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, it comes down to this offense finding consistency for me, and they were unable to do that. I went into this game. I got a question earlier in the game, or in the week. I was doing a TV hit, and they asked me, "Is there anything warm and fuzzy about this Philadelphia Eagles team?" And I said, "Yeah." And it's the person you least expect to be warm and fuzzy, and that's Vic Fangio. Coming into this game, that was the one thing I looked at with this Eagles team. If they were going to make any type of Super Bowl run, it was all going to be about Vic Fangio and this Eagles defense. Unfortunately, today, Kyle Shanahan and his offense got the better of Vic Fangio's defense, without a lot of support from the Eagles' offense in all of it. So for me, it comes down to, yeah, of course, keeping Vic Fangio. I have confidence that he knows what he's doing still, but I do not have confidence in Kevin Patullo ever finding that consistency that we wanted to find throughout the season with this Eagles offense.
This offseason will be filled with fire Patullo and secondly, trade AJ. We're going to constantly hear that no matter. Thirdly, it's going to be, how does an Eagles team in their backyard, oh, by the way, who had all 22 starters healthy
and
for
rested,
this playoff game and rested for a week, find a way to score only 19 points and lose at home to a San Francisco team that is a walking mass unit? Those things are going to sting people in this region for quite some time, unfortunately.
At least 6 months.
At least 6 months.
I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. I really don't. I don't know where to start because this couldn't have gone any more disappointing than it is. Like, the depression that will fall over this city because of this loss is unimaginable. It's one thing to get disappointed by the Phillies. It's another thing to understand that the Sixers will tease you, you know, and you understand that, you know, the Flyers are doing the best they can to come up. But this is the one team that this city had to hang its hat on, you know, because winning the Super Bowl last year gave us the expectation that we could be competitive against anybody in the National Football League, and they certainly have the talent to be able to do that. But I think a mindset shift, I should say, is in order here. Because the way that this offense operates, the things that players are allowed to get away with, the lack of public accountability, I have to call it, because I'm not in the building to see what the accountability looks like and what that accountability looks like at the end of the day. Because you can be holding a player accountable, you know, but in this day and age of salary cap where you just can't cut a player and bring another player in because of how the salary cap is structured, accountability is a different thing. Like, you can hold a player accountable and you can admonish a player behind closed doors, but if that player doesn't go out on the field and show you that he has taken what you meant and what you said to him to heart, then that means that your voice and the things that you're saying is null and void. And then the only way that you can hold that player accountable is to take him off the field and put somebody else on the field that's willing to do the things that you ask of him. But again, in this salary cap era, it's almost like you can't do that. Because the GM is going to be like, dude, I'm paying that guy $1 million a week. You better put his ass back out there on the field, and you better figure out a way to get him motivated. The question is, how does Nick Sirianni motivate his players beyond, you know, beyond the Super Bowl last year and the difficulties that this team faced this year? That's going to be the question, you know, because the players can say all they want. The players, listen, we put the post-game presses up for you guys. I don't expect to ever get anything out of it, whether it's Nick Sirianni or whether it's Jalen Hurts. I don't expect to get anything out of it because they're going to sit up there and they're going to say all the politically correct things. They're not going to give you anything to chew on. They're not going to give you. Now, every once in a while, Jalen would throw some sideways stuff that I know how to decipher because I've been around the game long enough. And I know what he's meaning. These are things that he can't outwardly say, but he's kind of insinuating that this is what he's talking about, okay? But at the end of the day, it comes down to how can you motivate your players? Do your players buy and believe in what you're saying beyond just giving it public speak? Oh, well, we love Nick. Nick's a great guy. He motivates us. We just want Nick to be Nick, blah, 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 blah. What else you going to say? That you sitting in the back of the room when he giving the motivation, rolling y'all, oh, here we go again. I've been in the meetings before, so I know. I know. But I can't come out and say that.
No.
When you really believe in a coach, it becomes evident by the way you play the game, by the way you prepare for the game, by the way you practice, by you showing that it means something to you to give everything that you have, not only for you because of what you're being paid, but for the 10 guys that you're lined up next to. I was always afraid, Mark and Derek, to walk into a room on Monday morning and have to sit next to my peers, the guys that I call brothers, and have them watch the film and see me not doing my job. That hurt me more than it personally hurt me not to play up to the level, because I know that those guys rely on me, okay? And until that's expressed within a unit, I don't care who it is. When you blocking for the quarterback, and you blocking for the running back, and you blocking for the other guys that's trying to make plays. And guess what? They're going to give you the glory when they have success. When you're covering a punt or a kickoff, and your ass is just jogging down the field, what you don't realize is the defense or the offense is retiring. They're relying on you to do your part, to make it easier on them. And it counts the same way on the defensive side of the ball. And I don't know, because I'm not in the building, that the words that are being spoken, the accountability that's being put forth, whether these players are getting it. Because when I watch an offensive line struggle all year long, and the same players are making the same mistakes over and over and over and over again, that speaks to me that, we hear you, Coach, but we don't give a damn.
Right.
We just doing what we're doing. We're going through the motion. I'm going to the window on Tuesday and pick up my check.
When we come back, we're going to give you our final thoughts on this Philadelphia Eagles disappointing season, ending with the one-and-done loss to the Niners. All that when we return on the Verizon postgame show.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
This upcoming segment brought to you by Mid-Penn Bank. Now I'm going to ask you fine gentlemen for your takeaways of the season. First one for me is, shockingly, you need an experienced play caller to organize your talent and call plays for your offense. After I thought you learned this hard lesson with Brian Johnson 2 years ago, here you are right back thinking Kevin Patullo, the guy who you passed over twice, by the way, for the responsibility you gave him this year, wasn't fit for the position. And I know there was more problems on the Eagles. Offensive line did not play up to the level they did a year ago. Saquon, in turn, did not play at the level he was at last year. But, man, it was obvious throughout this season that Kevin Patullo's job of organizing talent and calling plays did not work in the least bit this season, when you saw how far the Philadelphia Eagles offense fell from their production last year. Shockingly, you actually need an experienced play caller when you have this much talent. Derek Gunn, what are you taking away from the season?
That this offense never ascended. We sat here, we waited. The offense simply never ascended. It flatlined. And the defense had to bail them out more times than not. There was way too much money invested in this offense. There's way too much overall talent on this offense for this offense to be as mundane as it was this entire the majority of the season. Today was the epitome of what we had to watch for much of this season. And it's frustrating and it's sad and it's disappointing because so much more was expected of them. It's hard to get back to another Super Bowl, but I expected them to go further into the playoffs than they did. One and done was, I don't think, on anybody's sheet whatsoever. Now we have to sit back and wonder what direction they're going in. Who's going to be back? Who's not going to be back this offseason? And I think Nick needs to hire an OC who will stand up to him and say, this is what I want to do. You brought me in here to change this, to improve upon this. I don't want to be babysat. Let me do it my way and let's see how it flies. I don't need to be nurtured. And there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of talent on the open market right now in terms of creative offensive minds. Howie, You spend a lot of money on players, go out and spend the money on the OC that can take this offense to the next level. Plain and simple.
I'm going to go a step further. My opinion on this offense was underperformance from week one forward. And I want to go a step further, D-Gun. The minute that you decide to make Nick Sirianni a CEO head coach, you made the decision to bring in an offensive coordinator that could run things the way that he wanted to run them. I think that's why they lost, Kellen Moore after 1 year. Because if I'm an offensive coordinator who's been calling plays for a long career and I've got philosophies, well, I want to run my offense. But if the head coach is going to make me run his offense and, adjust to how he wants to do things, then I'm out of here. Then what's going to wind up having to happen, you're going to have to go and find an offensive coordinator who operates the same way that Vic Fangio operates. Because I can promise you that Nick Sirianni doesn't tell Vic Fangio a damn thing to do. Vic Fangio runs that defense. He is in charge of who plays and who doesn't play and what the defense looks like when you blitz and when you play zone and when you play man, okay? So if Nick Sirianni if the Eagles have determined, and they determined that in year one when they turned it over to Shane Steichen, that he wasn't fit to call plays, then you have to go and find an offensive coordinator who has his own philosophy, is going to develop the offense the way he sees fit, and Nick needs to stay out of the way with the exception of, should we go for it on fourth down? Should we kick field goals? Should we punt? Okay? And things of that nature. That's going to be his job because you're not going to fire Nick Sirianni. That's not going to happen. Yeah. Okay? But you have to make a decision that he's going to be a total CEO only, and he's not making any decisions. Because if you don't do that, this is going to happen all over again, okay? You have to bring in an authoritative figure that's going to hold Jalen's feet to the fire and make him get better and make him ascend his game and elevate his game, okay? Because this is his 5th year in the National Football League. In my career, is it 5 or 6? 5. Okay, it's his 5th year. And at some point, you have to elevate, or you get pigeonholed at being what you are, a running quarterback that can throw the ball a little efficiently. We've seen enough of him having success throwing the football to know that it's there. I see throws that he's made. I see great passes throughout the course of a year. So don't tell me he can't throw it across the middle of the field when I see him throwing it across the middle of the field. Don't tell me that he can't execute dagger concepts, where one wide receiver is running the cornerback off and the other one's running a deep dig and Jalen zips it in there through two or three defenders. I've seen him roll out and throw the ball on the move. Don't tell me what he can't do. Get me somebody that can hold his feet to the fire and make sure that his mechanics are right, that he's going through progressions right when it's a progression situation, that he's diagnosing coverages at the line of scrimmage. Because a lot of people will say, he can't read defenses. That's BS, because I've seen him do it before. I've seen him stand at the line of scrimmage in hurry-up situations and make the calls, the correct calls, and make checks at the line of scrimmage and get us in and out of plays. This offense doesn't allow him to play to his full potential, and I want an offensive coordinator that's not going to hold him back and limit his potential because he's scared to death to turn the football over, okay? I want an offensive coordinator that's going to open this offense up and strike fear in the hearts of defenses across the National Football League to complement what Vic Fangio is going to build on the defensive side of the ball, and this defense will be better next year. I promise you that. It's going to be better. They're going to go and get a cornerback opposite Quinyon Mitchell. They can get the job done. If they got to go and get another safety, or if Drew McCouba gets healthy enough to come back and be the answer, they're going to have the pieces that they need. They got depth at the linebacker position now for the first time in a long time. They've got rush guys with Jalen Hunt, emerging as a starter. Opposite, Nolan Smith when he's 100% healthy, or Jalen Phillips if they decide to re-sign him and bring him back. They've got depth at the defensive tackle position. They don't have to pay Jalen Carter on an off year. Make him play the last year of his deal. You got the right of first refusal on him. You can re-sign Jordan Davis, at a reasonable amount of money and make it make sense. The defense is going to get better. You got 2 cornerbacks, the first team All-Pro. They're going to get better. You may need to upgrade and improve the safety position with Reed Blankenship. For as good as he's played, he's a coverage liability. And you can't have that on the back end of your defense. I love the guy. I love him. But he's a coverage liability. And the great defensive coordinators are going to figure out how to get him locked up man-to-man and take advantage of his inability to cover. But Vic Fangio is going to do his job. He's proven that in the last 2 years. They got to go and bring somebody in here to get the offense right and force Nick to take his hands off the offense and leave that offensive coordinator alone.
Yeah, I think it'll be another offseason of what does Nick do here again? Like that thing. That thing we talked about, where the year after we talked about it, they won the Super Bowl. Yeah. It has been an absolute joy speaking with you gentlemen as well, throughout this NFL season, despite the disappointing ending in the Eagles' postseason loss 23-19 to the San Francisco 49ers.
Out, I do have to. I want to thank you guys for another great season. I want to thank you, Bailey, for all that you do in another great season. I want to thank Creative Outfit, our producers, our directors that ran the entire show this year. I hope you guys enjoy the better look than what we had last year. It's just, it was perfect. I want to thank, my wife for all she does, because I couldn't do this all on my own. If it wasn't for her, this thing would fall apart at the seams. So, to my wife, Kendra, thank you. And most of all, to all you guys that tune in every single week to hear us talk about our beloved Philadelphia Eagles. We don't hate the organization. We don't hate the coach. We don't hate the players. We just want to see the best football that this team can put out, and we want to cheer for our team to be successful and walk around with our chest puffed out like we did last year when our team won the ultimate prize, the Super Bowl. So I thank you. I thank you for tuning in to the Verizon pre- and post-game show. I thank you for tuning in to the Seth Joyner TV show on PHL and NBC Sports Philly every single week. And I thank you guys for tuning in to, to my podcast on Tuesday nights every single week. Thank you for your support.
It has been my honor and pleasure for as long as I've been doing this to work with you guys. I've known you guys for many years. I've called you friends for many years. And to sit up here, it's not work. This is a joy to be here in the studio with you guys. Thank you to everybody behind the scenes, man. One of the most professional crews I've ever had the opportunity to work with. When you can come into an environment, there's no tension, no animosity, it's a Camelot environment to work in. And that's what was created from day one when we met these guys, and it just carried over throughout the course of the season. They take pride in everything that they do, and they're meticulous in everything they do. As well as you, Bailey. I'm not going to leave you out, don't worry. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, we'll get to do it again next year.
No, wait, listen.
Who knows?
The only maybe that there's going to be is that the man upstairs decides to, make other plans.
Don't say that.
But as far as I'm concerned, listen, we'll see y'all right here next year, same place, same time, same channel, covering this same, with our same analysis. This is what we do. This is what we love to do. And God willing, we'll see you guys in next September.
Amen.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. Well, God willing, catch you guys next year.